What we're talking about today is form controls at different levels of abstraction. And I'm probably going to break this up into two videos because it's kind of a big concept in a way. But at level 1 you have the control referenced by its name, like txt first name or whatever. And then at level 2 you have the control just referenced as its type, like text box or checkbox or list box or whatever. And at level 3 you have the control just referenced as a generic control, where you actually use the word control in order to reference it. And the 4th level is all the controls in some given context are lumped together in a collection, so there's just one collection of controls. So in a way this is a video about identity crisis and controls, where it has more and more loss of identity, more and more loss of information about specifically who the control is, and it becomes just sort of a generic statistic. I'll start by creating a new project and call it CLOA01 for control level of abstraction 01. And then in the form I'll just put 4 text boxes. And if we look at these text boxes, you notice they have individual names: TXT test 01, TXT test 02, TXT test 03, and so on. The other one's TXT test 04. So if we create a the button also has a name. It's BTN set values. So if we double click on the button, we'll go into the event handler for button click, and we can reference all these by specific names, like we can say txt1.text equals, say, 1. And I could just cut and paste this. Although it seems to be unexpected. Oh, I put a colon instead of a semicolon. Whoops. I could just cut and paste this for the other 3. And make it 2 is equal to 2 and 3 is equal to 3. Oh, seem to be having trouble over selecting here. And 4 is equal to 4. And then if we save this and run it and click the button, see, we get 1, 2, 3, 4 put into the text boxes. And this is level 1 of abstraction, where you reference it by its actual name. You know who it is and you're specifically setting it. But instead of doing this, if I do Control-E-C and comment all this out, I can reference it just as a text box. I can say text box. Say a array of boxes, say ATB for array of text boxes, and then have an initializer list, and then have the one 2, 3, and 4 in the initializer list, so they're just individuals in a generic array of text boxes. I think I put the square brackets in the wrong place. There we go. Now it's happy. And we could create a function called private void set text box, say, and then have a parameter that's just text box 2. And maybe put a value. Value for the text box to be set, and say txt equals to the value we pass set to a string. And then in the main function have a loop that just says for so this loop will basically set ix initially to 0 and then check to see if it's greater than 4, and if it's greater than 4 it'll fall out of the loop, and if it's not it'll increment ix, and then we can do a call to our function. Yeah, that's right. And pass the array reference. Indexed by the ix value. So we're now referencing it entirely just as an abstract text box. And then pass the ix plus 1 as the integer value. So this will basically loop through 0, 1, 2, and 3 and reference ATB 0, 1, 2, and 3, passing them as a generic text box, and then set it to the index value plus 1, so it'll be 1, 2, 3, 4. And if we save this and compile and run it and do set, you see we get the same phenomena, but we're no longer dealing with data we know what it is. We're dealing with a generic text box. Well, in the later video, the next video, I'm going to talk about going to yet a higher level of abstraction where we're not even referring to it as its type, its text box, but a generic control, and we can then throw in all kinds of other controls like check boxes and radio buttons and group boxes and things like that, and all of them will be set based on being a generic control. But I'll leave that for the next video. I hope you learned a lot from this video and enjoyed it, and I'd appreciate it if you'd subscribe.